Hi everyone. Hopefully you guys are all back. So I'm gonna go now to the next session, which is like the stage three of today's event, the final stage. Now we're actually gonna start looking at how to, use a very simple tool to program an app. So now, just to get prepared, what I want you to do is now because I've ran this workshop previously face to face. I've never run this online before, so I want you to try to follow along at least for for some of the parts. What I want you to do is I'll give you a couple of minutes just to do two things. Okay. So one first is on your mobile phone try to go to the app store and find an app called Thunkable Live. Okay, Thunkable Live. Okay, so it looks like this on iOS and it looks like this on Android. So the icon's slightly different, but okay. And this is the platform that we'll be using for the next hour to start building an app. What I want you to do next, also, in addition to waiting for downloading this app, is to go to thunkable.com website. Okay, on your computer, maybe it's a PC or a laptop, log in using your HKBU email account or just a Gmail account is fine. Okay. Okay, so basically, I think it will. I don't even think it asks you to sign up. You can just like log in using your existing BU account or your Gmail account. Okay, so that's what I want you to do for now. I'll give you like maybe 2 or 3 minutes, and you can just do this. Now, also, what I want you to do is, if you now, I assume that all of you listening to this seminar should be indoor. You may be at your home, your classroom, or at your bedroom or something. So connect your laptop or your PC computer to the same network as your mobile phone. Okay, if possible. Okay, because I think that will make the whole operation run much smoother if we do. Okay, even if it's not, it's fine too. But just try to do that. So sign up for an account and download the app. I'll give you maybe 1 or 2 more minutes. Okay. Okay. So while you're doing that, okay. So I assume some of you have maybe already done that already. So while you're doing that, I'm just gonna quickly give you an intro. All right, so why do you want to make your own apps? Okay, so even if it's like not for today's event, okay, you might be wondering, okay, so why do I want to make an app? Okay, okay, hold on. Just let me just set up something here first. Sorry, there's a little. Okay, all right, so let's go back. Okay, so why do you want to make your own apps? Okay. All right, so let's just, this is one newspaper clip I've found like a couple of years ago. She made it to the news. I think she's from the US, but and her grandma is like living in Hong Kong, and her family moved and her moved to US already. Um, so she's 12 years old, and she actually know that her grandma has got an early Alzheimer disease. Okay, so early stage, and so her grandma is like starting to have difficulty keeping track of things, so remembering things. Okay, so she actually thought, maybe that was, and this is like about 4 years ago. She said, well, maybe I can build an app to help my grandma to remember things. Okay, so maybe build an app so that she can take a photo of something and then just really quickly say it to the phone and say what this is, or even have a relative help her to do that. And so if she look at something and she forgot, all she needs to do is pick out the phone and then like take out the app and say, so this is what that thing is. Or maybe she's having difficulty recognizing a person, then all you maybe have the app would take a photo, put that person's name below it, and so it's kind of like a memory, little like flashcard for her grandma. She actually built an app for it, and her grandma is like helping her with her daily life. This is another one. Okay, again, a few years ago, but this is two like a young professional, IT professional. They actually see that in Hong Kong there's a lot of animals being abandoned. Okay, now there are a lot of people who want to adopt these animals, but sometimes they don't know where to go to adopt them. Okay, and they also think there's many different organizations for adopting them, etc. So what they did was they created a platform where anyone can actually say, okay, I don't want to abandon an animal, or I know some animal that has been abandoned. So create a platform, take a photo, put some information on there, and make it as an app, so that anyone who want to adopt animal can actually go to this app and find this cat looks very cute, and I want to adopt it. And then they can contact the organization who is happening to be sheltering the animal. Okay, so this is another example of someone building an app for a purpose. So from my observation, okay, so why do you want to make your own apps? Well, if you find some problems in the society, or maybe even not in society, but let's say for that girl, for that young girl, there's a personal problem that she was experiencing or in her everyday life, and she can't find an existing solution to it. Well, can we use technology, or can we use a mobile app to fix it or to solve it? And if you can find it, or if you can think about a solution, then you can actually make an app for this. Okay. It can actually be a hobby project. Okay, so it doesn't have to be like selling for money. If it's something personal, you can just use by your grandma. It's like a hobby project, or maybe my friend can use it. Then that's fine. Okay, or it can be a school project, FYP. Let's say FYP, for my FYP, I don't want to make it into like just a plain boring presentation. Look at Wing's example. She's trying to build an app for reading the medicine, inputting medicine information in there. So that's like a really good idea of an FYP project, right? And also learning about programming and coding is actually becoming a more and more important job skills in today's jobs world. Many employers are now expecting even students who are not graduated from computer science to know a little bit about coding or programming skills. Okay, because it's highly likely that they may need to do some simple programming, or they may need to speak with or work with computer programmers on some projects. So having some programming or coding background is really good to your career. Okay. So, making your own apps is actually not just for making the app itself, but learning a little bit about programming is also very useful and helpful. Now, back to the apps development process we were talking before. So remember these 5 steps, right? So we've done the prototype. The next thing we do is programming. Okay, so now we'll look at the programming aspect of the app making. Now, actually, there are many different tools for creating an app. Okay, many programming tools for creating apps. But today, we'll be using something called Thunkable, okay, which is the platform or the app that I've asked you to download at the beginning. So what's the difference between Proto.io and Thunkable? Now, because when you actually start using Thunkable, I'll be showing you this platform. You'll start to realize, okay, so it looks kind of like Proto.io. Okay, so it's also like, you have a blank canvas, you can drag some icons onto it, etc. But actually there's some difference between them. Prototyping, Proto.io, is only for prototyping. So you actually use it to build and test user interface, okay? But what you're creating is really just a dummy app. So it's not functional, okay? But if you're using Thunkable, although the platform looks similar and it looks like that you're doing a similar thing, but you can actually use Thunkable to create a useful app that is functional, and that is let's say you're creating a prototype, and you say, okay, in this screen I want to open up a camera. Well, you cannot really open up a camera using Proto.io, but in Thunkable, you can actually make the app open up a camera, take a photo, and then use that image to do something. Okay, so it's actually very powerful, and you can actually do some real functionality using Thunkable. Okay, Proto.io is only for look and feel. Thunkable is functional. Okay, so you can actually make a real app out of Thunkable. Now, you'll be learning Thunkable today, okay? So there's actually a very similar tool called MIT App Inventor that is like kind of similar, but we find that actually Thunkable now is like more updated and it's newer and is actually even more user friendly. So we recommend using Thunkable. The two actually is quite similar, okay? So it's easy to use, easy to learn, okay? And so that's why it's actually very popular among beginners and hobbyists. So people just want to make an app for a hobby, okay? Also, there's numerous tutorials on YouTube on Thunkable that you can actually, same with MIT App Inventor too, that you can actually just go and learn it yourself, okay? So there's actually many people who's doing this and many tutorials out there. So that's why I'm showing you this tool today. So what I'm going to do, so what's going to happen for the next hour is this. So I'm going to actually show you how to create two useful apps. One is a translator app, okay? So the translator app has just really simple, one screen with two text box and one button here called the translate button, okay? And so once you press, let's say I input, this is an apple on the first text box, I press the translate button, it will give me the translated text in Chinese on the second text box. So very much like your Google Translate, okay? Now, of course, you ask, okay, so why do I want to do this? Because I've already got Google Translate on my phone. But this is a simple enough app to show you how easy it is in Thunkable that you can make this app possible, okay? You can actually make this functional app really easily on your phone with Thunkable. So it gives you a taste of what Thunkable is. So this is going to be hands-on. I hope you will be able to follow along with this. So that's why I actually asked you to sign up for an account on Thunkable. The next one I'm going to show you is image recognition app. Okay, so I think Wayne talked about this. She's going to be working on some image recognition but more advanced. She want to be able to recognize text and also medicine pills on after the user taken photo. So this one is more simple. This one is basically just one simple one-screen app with one button, take a picture, take a picture, and then it will open up a camera. You take a picture of, say, an apple or a water bottle or a watch, and then it will tell you this is an apple, okay? So it recognizes an apple and then just put the text in there, this is an apple, okay? And this looks like a simple, very simple app, but there's actually some application to this, which I'm going to show you. Okay. Now this one is going to be demo only because in the interest of time, usually I do this workshop for 3 hours to do both apps, and the student would actually do that in a computer lab, and then I'll give them a lot of time to do this. But since this is online and I can't go to each one of your computer and look at it, so I'm just going to show you this first one here. The hands-on, so you're going to actually follow along with me on this. For this one, it's going to be demo only. I'm just going to show you how this is made, and then you don't have to follow along, okay? All right, so again, make sure that you have your phone installing the Thunkable Live app, and also go to your thunkable.com website and make sure that both of them are logged in using the same email account. Okay, so because the Thunkable Live app, after you download it, it will ask you to log in. So make sure that both of them it can be either your your HKBU account, or it can be your Gmail account. Okay. All right. So now let's explore the Thunkable interface. Okay, so let's take a look at what this Thunkable thing is is all about. All right, so this is the website, Thunkable. So I'm just gonna quickly log in. Now, if I show you my phone, okay, so this is my phone, the Thunkable app, I'm open it up. Okay, so because I've already logged in, so it will show me the different projects that I've already got here, my projects at the bottom. Okay, and these are the projects that I've done already. Now I'm just going to create a new project here. Okay, and I'll just call this translator app. Okay. Now Thunkable is free. Okay, but there's a catch to this. You only it actually is free up to a point where your app is public. But if you want to make your app private so that no one in the world can see it, then you have to start paying for money. Okay, so that's the terms that or the condition that you have to have. So basically, it's really good for hobbyists, because for hobbyists, if you're doing this for hobby, maybe you don't really care if other people see your app. But if you're doing like a commercial app, then you don't want other people to see it. Then you have to start paying them. So you can see actually once we log in, it's actually very similar to Proto.io, right? You look on the left hand side, okay? So there's some user interface elements that you can add in. There's also the screens, right? So remember on Proto.io also the screens here, okay? Now for the apps that we do, we just have one screen, so we don't need to make more screens here. So that's the left hand side. That's your components. So basically a lot of components, okay? So these are the buttons, text inputs. So these are the user interface elements that we'll be kind of using in the app, are all found here. In the middle, just like Proto.io, is where you can start building your prototype or your app. You're putting the user interface element in there. Okay, so for example, I want to put a button on the screen. All I need to do is just drag and drop. Okay, now unlike Proto.io, the layout of your buttons and text and things like that is not as flexible. You cannot just move them anywhere on the screen. Okay, the layout for Thunkable app is actually more limited. So it only stacks them up together in one, one after and one on top of another. So I'll show you what I mean later. But let's say I just put a button in here. Now here on the left-hand side, if I just move up a little bit, so you can see now under screen 1, there's a button 1. Okay, if I put in button 2 in here, I add another button, you can see under screen 1 now there are 2 buttons, button 1 and button 2. Okay, so these are the visible components. So these components are visible to us. All right. So let's say I want to now move to the right-hand side of the screen. So what's that? I click on a button, and I can actually change a lot of things here. Let's say I don't want this to be the button called button. I want it to be translate. Okay. So I can actually change the properties of my button here. I don't want my background color to be blue. I want it to be red. So I just need to change the color here. So basically on the right-hand side is the properties of your user interface element that you've selected. Okay. If I don't want my button, my blue button, I click on that. You go to the top right corner, there's a delete button here. I press delete, and I get rid of it. Okay. Now also in Thunkable is actually a very important, well, I would say a very good practice to always give a name to your elements, to your components. Now, what do I mean by that? So now for this button here, I call it translate, right? Now that's just the text that the label I put on the button. But internally, when you actually see why we need this when we actually do the programming, but it's actually very good practice if we call the button something that we can remember. So at the top here, you can see there's a button 2, right? Now, later on when we do the programming, when we do the actual programming, we will actually see this again. So it's better now to actually rename this so that this is something that we'll recognize later. I just call this translate button, okay? Now this is just an internal name that is being referred to or used in Thunkable, okay? You see how useful this is later on. So trust me, just name this whatever you want, but name it to something that you can remember. Okay, so I know now this is a translate button. Okay, so that's the basic elements in the user the Thunkable interface. Top right corner, there's a whole bunch of other functions here, which I'll talk about later. Okay, so this is for downloading your apps or when you're trying to publish your apps later on, or you can actually share your apps with other people. You can do that. Okay, but all right, so let me just really quickly show you another really nice and cool feature of Thunkable. So now I'm working on this interface here with the translate button, right? Now, if I look at my phone, okay, this is actually already showing on my phone. If I have the Thunkable app, I go in and also sign in with my Gmail account. This already shows up here. As you can see on the translator app at the very bottom. I click on it. So immediately, it gives me a preview of my app, okay? So actually, this is real time, okay? So it refreshes real time. So here, let's say now I want to just rename my button to something else. Now you can see on my phone, it is already updating, okay? Okay, so let's say I want to make my text so that all of them are capital letter, okay? Or I want to make my button so that it's wider, okay? So I use, now for changing size of elements, so there's a height, there's a width, relative size. I usually use relative size. I can actually specify the button in terms of the percentage. So let's say I want to make this big translate button 50%. Or actually, well, 50 is may not be enough. Let's say make it 80%, okay? So it'll take up 80% of the screen. So immediately you can see on my phone, okay? So you can see if you're looking at my camera, my phone, okay? So this is already giving you the preview of your app real time. Okay, so that's another really nice feature of Thunkable. It actually, you can see a live preview of your app while you're building it. Okay, now we'll look at this a little bit later. But let's now go back to here. All right, so now we know the different parts of Thunkable user interface. So I'll give you maybe 2 or 3 minutes to play with this interface and maybe just throw one button in there. Okay, and try to rename that button, change some color, etc. And I'll give you 2 to 3 minutes to try this first. Okay. And if you have problem, please ask on chat box in the chat window. Okay, so I'm going to go on now. All right. So now that we know a little bit about the Thunkable interface, now let's try this hands-on exercise. Okay. Now, so before we actually start, building the whole thing, we need to actually figure out. We need to have some sort of strategy. We need to have some sort of plan on how do we build this app. So let's just think about what is going on when we do the translation process, okay? So, we have a text box that we put in the English word, with the text box that we display the Chinese translation, okay? So we have 2 text box. What I forgot to put in this diagram is the button, but that's okay. So we have 2 text box. Now we also want something called the translator, okay? So we have something to translate the English text for us. Okay, so that's the translator. All right, so I'll show you how to put that translator inside the app later. Okay, but let's say we actually need a translator, and we don't need to write. We don't need to. We actually can use the translator that's already built in Thunkable. Okay, but we just say we have this translator in our app. Now, think about the sequence of events that has to happen in order to make this translation take place. So first of all, we need to write, type something in your text box. Let's say I type in this green text, my name is Eric, into an English text box. And then the English text would have to go into the translator. And then the translator would do the translation. And then it will output the translated text, which is Chinese, back into the Chinese text box, right? So let's say I'm typing my name's Eric. The translator would translate it into this, 我的名字叫 Eric, okay? And then put it back in the Chinese box. So this is kind of like the flow of information that's going to happen in our translator app. Now, why is this important to look at this? Now, that's because we actually also need to consider what kind of action needs to be happened in order for this to, for this information to flow. So what I mean by that is this. Think about the app. When you open this app, nothing is going to happen until you type something in there, right? And nothing is going to happen until you actually press the button and say, okay, translate this text, right? So there has to be some sort of like action or condition that has to happen in order for this translator app to work, okay? So we need to think about the kind of action or conditions that needs to happen. So what kind of condition we need to have? Well, first one is we need to wait for the user, okay? So first of all, to input the text. And second of all is we need to wait for the user to press on the translator button, right? So we want the translator to start working when the translate button is clicked. So that's our first condition, all right? So when the translate button is clicked. Now, so that's the first thing, right? Now, after the translation is done, there's another condition that we need to meet in order for the second condition to meet, in order to start showing the Chinese text in the text box. And what is that? Is when the translator completes the translation, right? Because the translator actually takes, maybe even if it's like really fast, maybe 1 second or half a second, you'll still need some time, right? So you need to wait for the translator to finish the translation, and then you can put that red Chinese text into the text box, okay? So these are the two kind of like conditions that have to be met before, we actually show the actual final translation in the text box. Okay, so keep this in mind, because this is like, even if you think about this is a really simple app. You have to think about, the flow of information. You have to think about, the condition that has to be met in order for this app to, operate. Okay, so the user have to press in the button, wait for the translator to finish something, and then you display the text. Okay, so we have to think about all this like a whole sequence of things that have to happen. And why do we have to do that? Because this is what programming is. When we write a program for an app, we are describing this kind of sequence and tell the app, okay, so this is what you want, or this is what I want you, or what I want you as an app to do, okay? When you, as an app, detect that the person has pressed a button, then you do the translator. So basically, you're writing down the command for the app, okay? So to tell it, you do this when you see this. You do this when the person's press a button, okay? So this is what programming is all about. Basically, just telling the app the set of sequence or set of command that you want it to work. Okay, so now theory stuff like aside, now we've finished the theory stuff. So now let's see how we can make this happen in Thunkable, okay? So we haven't finished building the user interface yet. So let's just finish building this by putting in the text input, okay? So you can follow along with this if you want. I put in 2 text input here, right? So first, so the first one, the top one will be the English one. So I'm just going to go up and, again, very good practice to change the name, English text box. Okay, I give it a name. The second one, I click on the second one. I give it another name, Chinese text. Okay. Now I'm going to change the size a little bit to make this like, higher. So I'll go to the height here. I click on this text box. I use the relative size and I make this into, let's say, 35%. Okay, so that's taller. So you can see actually now here, it automatically updates. This is my app. Okay, so this is my phone. Because it's a real time what's showing on my phone right now. Okay. All right, so let's go to the bottom here. And this one, I also make the height to be 35%. Okay. Great. So now 2 text box. I also add a border really quickly. Add a border of 1 and the color of the border is gray. Actually, let's make it black. And the style, I make it solid. Okay, so it's easier for you to tell where are the two text boxes are. Okay, so I'll do the same for the bottom one. Okay, so now I have the nice user interface, two text boxes with the translate button at the bottom. All right, so now remember, I also need the translator, okay? So translator is actually another interesting component that we can use in Thunkable. So if I go to the left-hand side, add component, I can type in translate. Now here, you can already see that's a translator component. Now, but translator, because it works at the background, it's not something that is visible to us, we can actually drag it into this here, invisible component. Okay, so again, we drag it to the top here, invisible component. Okay, let me show you again. Let me delete it. Okay, so you can see there's invisible components. Drag invisible components here. I type translate. Okay, so I've added a translator component here. Now you can see, because it's not in the user interface, it shows up here at the bottom with a kind of like a dotted square that I've put down like a translator. Now, when I click on the translator, I also see there's a source, like on the right-hand side, I have to click on the translator. Source language is English. I wanted my target language to be Chinese, right? Okay, so that's the setting that we have to do. So now we have all the components that we needed for creating the translator. Now, let's go to the actual programming, okay? Where do we do the programming here? All right, so we go to the blocks. This is where we do the programming. Actually, I'm just gonna stop or pause for maybe 1 or 2 minutes, just for anyone who is trying to catch up. Build this user interface here first before we actually start the programming, okay? So I'm gonna resume in 1 minutes later. I'll let you guys like try to build this user interface here first. And if you have questions, just open up the chat box and you can ask us on there. Okay, all right, so now that we've finished building the user interface, now we go to blocks. Okay, so if you look at the top left corner, all the stuff that we've been doing so far is design. Okay, so we're designing the user interface. All right, just very much like your Proto.io. Okay, but because, as I said, this is not Proto.io, this is like Thunkable, and we can actually start programming things by going to blocks. Now, this is where we actually write our program to basically describe or basically write out these things that we have like talked about before. Okay, this sequence of events. Okay, so on the left-hand side, after you click on block, you can see there's a big white area where you can write the program. On the left, this is where a lot of things you can, elements that you can start to write your program. So let's try one of them. Now, I want to start with, let's say, the translate button. Remember on this here. Okay, so the first condition is when translate button is clicked, right? So that's my first starting point. My first thing is about finding if the person has clicked a button or not. So on the left-hand side here, you can see, okay, so these are the names of the elements that I've created, or the UI, or the components that I've created in the canvas, right? So now you see why is it important that I name my components properly. Is because when you're doing programming, you need to refer to them all the time. So here, if I just like by default, that button was called button 1 and button 2. Okay, so if you have like 10 buttons in your app, you will not be able to distinguish or remember which one is which. So that's why I want you to name it. So now I click on translate button. Okay, that's my first starting point. Now when I click on there, you will see there's actually a lot of like different options for you to choose. And all of them looks like just a jigsaw puzzle, okay? In fact, you can drag things out, okay? So I'm going to look at the yellow one. The yellow one are basically all about interactions. So you can see I drag out, okay? So again, I'm going to do that again. So I'm just going to erase it. So translate button, I click on this, and I click and drag, okay? So you can see that now I drag out a block called when translate button click, okay? So you can pretty much read it like English, okay? So when translate button click, do something, okay? So you notice that in the middle, there's this white area, okay? That's like empty. So in Thunkable, programming is really like building a jigsaw puzzle. All you need to do is just basically put blocks into each other, okay, to do something, all right? So now you can imagine, okay, so let me look here. Okay, so click a button. When a click button is clicked, then I throw whatever is in the English text box into the translator, okay? So let's see how I can do that here. Okay, so when a translate button click do something, so I need to create some blocks that goes in the middle here. So let's go to English text box. So I want to grab whatever text is inside the text box and do something, right? So this one here looks fine. Word from English text box, get the text. Okay, so let's just pull it out for now. Okay. All right, so before it was green, now you notice that it's like gray. So I need to actually place it in the right place in order to make the program work. I try to put it in here. Okay, so it doesn't look like I can do it. All right. Now, there are some hints here. Now, Thunkable is really good because it gives you hints about where to put the blocks by looking at these little edges. Okay, so you can see that this edge here and this edge here, they don't really match. Okay, it's just like building a jigsaw puzzle. This doesn't really match, right? Okay, so there's something else that we have to do. Okay, so let's see, what else do I have to do? Other than the text box, maybe something to do with the translator, right? So let's see, I go to translator 1. So there's this thing here. Now, if you notice this shape, there's a little, edge, coming out here. If I go to translator 1, I look at the purple block. There's also something very similar here, right? Okay, so I can actually drag out this purple block. So this looks like I can put it together, right? And of course, right? So now I'm able to put 2 blocks together. Now, when I put 2 blocks together, I can actually read it like English, okay? So when translate button is clicked, then I do something. What do? I call up the translator 1, and I translate something, okay? And what do I translate? Now you can see I can translate, well, I don't want to, so you can see text to translate. There's a little thing that I can put it in. I can just type in, well, I just want to translate my English text box tags. Okay, so now you can see it fits perfectly, right? So it's kind of like just building a jigsaw puzzle. When a button is clicked, I call up the translator. And what text do I want to translate? I translate the English text box text, right? So I just like put things together with the right, shape. All right, so what's the next thing to do? Well, so it translates text. And if just like English, I read from top to bottom, it has some outputs, okay? So it translates something. So it outputs something as well, right? So the translator finish and the red arrow is like your output something. It outputs the result and status, okay? So I'm interested in the result. So let's just actually pull this out, okay? Now, I have the result. I want to put it somewhere, right? So where do I put it? I want to put it in the Chinese text box. So I'm going to go to the left here, Chinese text box. And I'm going to look for the same shape. Let's see. Okay. So from Chinese text, set the text to something. This looks like something I want to use. I drag this out, put it in here. Nice. Okay. And finally, I put the result in here. That's it. Okay, so now I'm going to go to, so now I've finished programming my app. Okay, so I'm going to leave this up here for a minute, and then you can, if you are on Thunkable already, try to build this up, okay, with the blocks. And I'm going to show you now that, this is my phone. Okay, so this is my phone. If you look at the camera, all right, so I'm going to show you now, I'm going to type up, this is an apple, okay? So I've typed in that, I press the translate button. Now it gives me the Chinese conversion here. Okay, so now I know my app is working. Okay, so let's just like for fun, I just like go back to design. I go to my translator and change this to Japanese. Okay. Now I go back to my app again. I'll leave this up for anyone who wants to build this. Okay, so this is an apple. Translate. So this gives me the Japanese translation, right? So now I know my app is working. Okay, so now this is programming. This is programming in Thunkable. Now, this is not the only way to write program, because if anyone who is has write some programming code before would know that this does not look like writing programming code. But this is basically the logic that you can use to to program this Thunkable app. Okay, so this is called visual programming. You just don't need to like drag and drop elements. Okay, of logics of your text box, your user interface, your components, and things like that into this here, and connect them together and write a program. Okay, now I'm going to give you like maybe 2 or 3 minutes. Anyone who wants to try this out on your own computer, okay, give it a try. And I'm just gonna take 2 to 3 minutes break with just like sip some water. But you can give this a try and try it out on your phone and see whether you get this to work. Okay, has anyone able to got this to work?
Yes, there is a question.
Oh, okay, let me just check. Oh, so someone got it to work. Where to find a purple box of translate to text? Okay, so go to blocks and you click on, so make sure that you have got the translator component added to your screen first. So here you have to, in the design tab, you go to translator. Okay, make sure that you drag it to the invisible component area. Okay, so make sure that you have that first. Okay, so once you have that, you go back to blocks, and then you click on the translator one. Okay, and then you see the purple block here, right? And then you can drag it out. Okay, so it looks like 2 of you have got it. Great, very good. Okay, again, because I used to do this in a face-to-face format in a computer lab, so I can see everyone's screen, and it's much easier for me to help you guys. But for this one, I guess I can't see your screen, so you just have to try it out yourself and see whether it works. But it looks like two of you have got it to work. Great job. Okay. So now I will actually share this PowerPoint with you guys. So the solution is actually here. I've got it in the PowerPoint. Okay. So if you don't get this right now, don't worry. You can actually try to do this later yourself. And this is the block, images that you see. You can actually just like follow along, just build this block, and you can actually make this on Thunkable your own. Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna now go to the next part. Okay, so you can keep playing with it if you want. Okay, but you can just like listen to my presentation in a little bit more, because that's all the hands-on things that I'll ask you guys to do for this session. Okay, because of the 1 hour, the time limit, and also I can't really see your screen, so it's more like you have to try it on your own. All right, so let's go to the second part now. So what's next? Now that we have some basic idea of what Thunkable is and how to use that. So let's see. The second part I want to show you is the image recognizer. Okay. So again, this is demo only. So I'll show you how to make it. Because it's like a little bit more complex, so you won't be able to make it like maybe together. Okay, but you can, by all means, you can spend some time after this presentation or after this workshop and try to make it on your own. Okay. Now, first of all, why do we want to make an image recognizer? Okay, so remember that picture I showed you about the image recognizer here, right? So take a picture with the app, and then it will show you the picture and also tells you what the picture is, okay? So now I'm going to show you a really quick video, okay? And you'll understand why this is like needed. Okay, so William, can you help me see whether the audio plays on this video?
Sure.
Can you hear the audio for this from the
No,
video?
but perhaps the volume should be louder.
Louder, okay.
Yeah.
Let me try this. Is this better?
Yes, but the sound is still quite low.
Sounds is quite low. Okay. Let me just adjust some settings on my Zoom. Hold on. Okay, just wait a minute. Sorry about that. Okay, so okay, I'm not exactly sure where. Now that's okay because the video has subtitles, so even if you don't hear properly, you can read the subtitle, okay? So I'm just gonna play this video really quickly. I'm just gonna restart from the beginning. Okay, so now you can see what's the user from an app that can take a picture and give you a description on what that picture is. Blind people, okay, so or people with visual ability that is like quite low, they can't really see things clearly around them. They can actually use the phone, take a photo, and read out to them what is around them, and that's actually a very useful application for people who have lost their visual ability, right? Okay, so so now for this demo, okay, so I'm going to show you again. I'm going to kind of show you this the plan of what I'm going to do. Okay, so again, it's very similar to the plan that I've shown you before, except I have to think through the whole process. Except this is like a little bit more complex than before. So first of all, I have to wait for the first condition. I have to wait for the take picture to finish. So the take picture button is clicked. And then and then I put the camera image, what I've taken, and then display it on screen. Okay, so I can see what I've taken, and then I put it in instead of put it into a translator, I put it into something called image recognizer. Okay, and then after the image recognizer finds it recognizes what that is and give a response, then I put that text into a text box. Now, of course, the app you saw on the video. It actually gives you the reads out the text. Actually, it's possible to do that also reading out the text in Thunkable as well. Okay, I'll actually show you if I have time. Okay, but let's just say this is my plan right now. Okay, so let's see how I can do that in Thunkable. Now you don't have to follow along with this, but I'm just going to quickly show you how this is done really easily on Thunkable. Okay, now I'm just going to go back and go to create a new app called image recognizer. Okay. Now I'm going to really quickly put a button in there. Okay, and I call this take picture. Now you can follow along if you want, but but I'm going to go really quick. So if you can't follow along, that's fine too. The blocks and the project will be shown on the PowerPoint, and you can download. You can download that later. All right, so I'm going to actually also add the image component here. Okay, so this is going to show me the image of the things that I've already taken. So I'm going to make it a size of 100. Actually, no, that's too large. So maybe 70. Okay, make this like relatively large, and then make this to be, let's say, 80. Okay. Now I will also need some sort of text box to display what's recognized for me, right? So let's see. I also want some text. Let's use label this time. Okay. So label is similar to text box, but except you can't press on it and type stuff in there. So this is just like a label. So now I'm just going to put ... here for now. Okay. At the beginning. So initially, when nothing is taken already, no picture is taken yet. Okay. Now again, I'm going to label these. So this is like a description, text. Okay. This is the camera image. This is the button one is called take photo button. Now finally, I also need some invisible component. And what is that? Well, first of all, I need a camera. Okay. So camera is actually also a component. I drag it into the invisible component. Image recognizer. So actually, it has a built-in image recognizer. Okay, all you need to do is click and drag. Oops, into the invisible component. Okay, so that's the same image recognizer technology that you saw in the video by Microsoft. Okay, so Thunkable already has some really pretty cool feature that you can actually use within it. I'm not going to spend time to go through all of them, but I'm just going to show you this particular one. But if you go down, you can see there's actually other ones, like you can actually add a database into your app. Okay, You can even add things like blockchain wallets, maps, timers, your accelerometer. You can even add Bluetooth onto your app. Okay, so I'm not going to show you all of them, but I'm just going to show you really simply the image recognizer. All right, so now I should have all the components I want. I go to the blocks. I start programming. All right, so what's the first thing? First thing the plan is I need to do something when the person click on the button. So take photo button. Okay, so very similar to a translator app, right? And then I open up the image recognizer. Now this one is like much more complex than your translator, right? So it has like more stuff. I also open up the camera. Okay, so first of all, so I have these like two purple blocks here, right? So I need to first take a photo, right? So I put my camera right at the first, thing after I press the take photo button. Okay, and then you can see because there's this little edge here, I can actually join these two blocks together. Okay, so once I do this, then I do this. In fact, what's even better to do is to put it within this here, okay? Because if you look at this, when I take the photo button is click, then I ask camera 1 to take a photo, right? And then do something, okay? So after I do this, I want the image recognizer to kick in. So I can actually put this within the camera, operation. So you can see now, Thunkable is like, you can mix and match, just like building a puzzle, jigsaw puzzle. You can put a lot of functions together like this, okay? Now, I can even, after I build this to put this together, I can even put things in between, right? Now remember, I want to place the image of the camera I've taken as well in there as well, right? So, whoops, I think I've accidentally opened up the draw function. Sorry about that. Okay. How do I clear the screen? Sorry.
Well.
Okay, so hold on, clear. Okay, here. So I've cleared the screen. All right, so let's try again. All right, so I want to be able to show the image of the camera photo I've taken. So I go to, let's see, the camera image, okay? And here, I would set the picture of the camera image. Okay, so that's the image box. I can actually place it in between the image recognizer and the camera. Okay, so I set the camera image, and then I take out the photo. I put it in here. Okay. Now here, I also want to upload my image into the recognizer. Okay, so I can actually use this photo and place it in here as well. Okay, because this is asking me for which image do I want to upload to the image recognizer to do the recognition. Okay, so after all this is finished, okay, so after uploading is done, then what do I do? Okay, so there's still one block here I want to fill in. So I want to do the text. I want to so it recognizes something. Oh, this is an apple. I want that text to be inserted in this text box here, right? The description text. So let's see, description text. Okay. So I set the text, so I can put this here. Now, the image recognizer have different outputs, okay? So I just want a description. So I drag this and put it in here, okay? Now this should work, okay? So this is like how quickly I can actually just like, because I've done this before, so that's why it's like quite fast. But you can actually, do the same. And this is like basically taking a photo, uploading it, showing this photo onto my app, and then displaying the text, okay? Now, this, just for your information, this image recognizer is actually online. It's actually at a Microsoft server center somewhere in the States or maybe in Hong Kong, I don't know. But basically, why it's called upload. It's because we upload that photo into that server, and then there's some artificial intelligence, machine learning in that server that will recognize that photo and then tell us what that is, okay? So that's why it says it's upload. Okay, so now let me try this app. Okay, so I'm gonna now show you my phone. Okay. Okay, so image recognizer app. Okay, so this is the app that I've created. Okay, so if you see it on my camera, you'll be able to see my phone. Okay, so let me just try to take a photo, all right? Okay, so this is my camera view. I'm actually at home, by the way, so let's just try this first. I'm just going to take a photo of myself, okay? All right, and I press use photo. Okay, so now it shows, so now you can see the text shows me a person posing for a camera, okay? So now I know it's working, okay? So now let's try this and take a picture of something else. Let's take a photo of this watch here. Okay. Now you can see a watch sitting on top of a wooden table. That's very good, right? So the recognition is actually very good. Let's try to do something else. Let's take a photo of my shoes. Let's see whether it recognizes it. A pair of white shoes. Okay, so maybe it's not white, but so it recognizes a pair of shoes. Okay, so maybe the color is not really, so Microsoft image recognizer is not really good at recognizing color right now, I think. So it thinks it's white shoes, but it's actually blue. Okay, so let me just do one final one. So I'm actually at home and I want to take a photo of my view outside. Let's see whether it recognizes this. Okay, so wait a little bit. Okay, maybe I try this again. Maybe it's something wrong. So okay. A view of a living room filled with furniture and a large window. That's pretty accurate, right? I mean, that's quite good, the recognition. Right, let's try this. An office with a desk and a chair in a room. Okay, so maybe it's not an office, it's my living room, but I think this is quite good already. Okay, so now you can see this is quite powerful, right? Just within I've done this in 10 minutes. I can already build image recognizer like this using Thunkable. Okay, really powerful stuff. And here I can actually add a little bit more. Okay, to add the speaking function in there, right? Because here. Okay, so after the image recognition is done, here is I set the description text to the description. I can actually add something else in here if I go to design. Okay, so if I search for a component, there's one component called text to speech. Okay, you can actually add this component here. Okay, again, it's an invisible component. I can actually add this text to speech. Okay, I can actually speak out the text here. I can actually speak out this description here. Okay, so there, like this, I've already modified my app so that it will be able to, read out, that picture, the description that I've of the photo that I've taken. Okay, now I think let me just, actually, I don't think I'll try it because the reading, I tried the audio function, it's not working if I connect my my phone to the computer like this, so you can see the live capture of my phone. I tried the audio, doesn't work here like this, okay? But you can certainly welcome to try this at home or after this workshop, okay? So now I've demoed to you this. Again, the blocks diagram is actually in my PowerPoint slide. Okay, so again, the 3 steps, right? So 3 steps. I've actually numbered them 1, 2, 3. So try this out on yourself by yourself. Okay, and you can see how powerful Thunkable is in building apps like this. Okay. All right. So this is just a beginning. Okay, so you can keep learning. You can keep learning a lot of stuff. Okay, so there are many components in Thunkable that I have not talked about, and you can actually try them out. In fact, you can actually go to the Thunkable community. Okay, there's lots of people building Thunkable apps out there. You can also go to the Thunkable YouTube channel, and there's many tutorials out there as well. So let's just go to YouTube, and I go back to my home. Thunkable tutorial. Okay, and this guy actually is pretty good. He makes like lots of like really good good tutorial videos. Okay, so you can even make things like a game in Thunkable. Okay, or you can save data in a database in Thunkable. Okay, so if you want to make an app to make a game app or make an app that can read and save data, then you can just go for this tutorial and you'll be able to learn it. Okay, so I'm just going to close. I'm just going to finish off with this session with something called app publishing. Okay, so you might be thinking, okay, so this looks like really simple, and Thunkable seems so simple to use. Is this like really being used by many people to make like real apps? And the answer is yes. If you go online, okay, you can see that actually these apps are all made in Thunkable, and they can be downloaded on the App Store. These people actually make this app on Thunkable, okay, and put it on the App Store. Okay, so this one here, for example, in the United States, you have to pay tips, and a lot of times people have like difficulty calculating the tips when you go to restaurants. So this actually made this like really nice looking app where you can actually calculate the tip, and it's all done using Thunkable. Okay, so there's many examples of apps. This is a game app. Okay, it's kind of like a little cooking game. Okay, making donuts. Okay, so there's many apps that's already built using Thunkable, and you can actually upload them into App Store and let other people download it. So how do you do that? Well, actually, app publishing. That's called app publishing. You can go to your Thunkable interface, and on the top right corner, you can see there's like the publish button. You can actually go and publish the app to App Store. Okay. Now, for the interest of time, I can't. The process is actually very long, and you also need to sign up for like accounts on Android or Google or with Apple in order to to publish the app. Okay, I'm not going to go through them, but if you click on those buttons, it will give you a step-by-step tutorial on how to do that. Okay, so now there's like there's a little cost to this, although I think it's like really low. This is like quite affordable. So if you want to create an app and publish it to Google, then you need to pay Google a one-time registration fee of 200 Hong Kong dollars. And if you decide to sell your app on the App Store, let's say maybe I sell it for I don't know, 10 Hong Kong dollars. If someone actually pay for your app, you get to keep $7, and Google gets to pay $3. Okay, so you split the profit with Google. Apple is the same. The profit sharing is the same, except you have to pay a little bit more money for the registration, and it's an annual fee. Okay, so each year you have to pay $780 to to Apple in order to publish the app. Google, you just pay this for one time. Okay, so again, I'm not going to go through the whole app publishing process. If you click on the Publish App button, you'll be able to see the whole step-by-step. It will guide you through that whole process. Okay, so this is all from me. So hopefully you've learned something useful. You've got a taste of Thunkable, and now you know that building an app is actually not that difficult. Okay, so if you have any question, please place it on the chat box. Okay. If not, then I'm going to hand the floor back to William, and then he will finish off this event with a small debriefing session. Okay, so thank you so much. I'll pass this back to William now.
Okay, thank you, Eric.